you want to do long distance commuting by bike, there are a couple of things you have to consider. So the first thing I always say is the distance is very important. So try and figure out for yourself what kind of distance you think you'd be able to cover. Is it 20 k's, is it 40 k's, is it 60 k's, 70, 80 k's? My longest rides are about 70, 80 k's, and my average commute, because the shortest distance for me to work is 50 k's. So my average commute is 50 kilometers, and the 50 kilometers is something I can easily cover in the summer and in the winter. So that's my shortest commute, no problem. And as I know I can cover the distance, I'm not worried about that. Of course, there are some things you have to consider. The time it takes, so you have to give yourself ample time to get to work, and you have to consider a couple of things. You have to consider the wind. The wind is a serious problem because my commute can increase by 20 minutes to 25 minutes. Even though the shortest commute is only 1 hour and 5 minutes, it can be 1 hour and 30 minutes, no problem, because if I have the wind head on all the way, and it can really blow in Holland, my commute can be an hour and a half. So I have to consider that extra half an hour. So before I go away, I check what kind of wind is blowing in which direction, so I know what time I have to leave and how hard I have to ride. Because I leave in the mornings at 5:30, I don't want to really kill myself on the bike to work, so I give myself ample time considering the wind. The second factor you have to consider is you might have a puncture on the way, so you have to give yourself an extra 25 to 30 minutes in the winter when it's dark to fix that, because it's quite a bummer in the winter. And for that, we'll get back to that later as well, but you're gonna need a light, something that you can use to shine on the project of fixing that puncture, because otherwise when it's pitch dark you can't see anything. So that's the second thing you have to consider. In the summer you might need 10 minutes to fix the puncture, no problem, but give yourself 25 minutes. You never know how it runs, especially if you're tubeless, if the plug's going to work, yes or no. The third thing you have to consider is, can you shower at work? It's kind of nice to have a shower, otherwise you walk around the whole day smelling like rubbish, and it's nice for your colleagues. In my case, it's good for my patients, I guess. It's good for me as well. So it's not only the time you are riding to work, which may be an hour or 45 minutes or an hour 15 or an hour and 30, you have to consider the fact that you can have a puncture, the fact you can have a mechanical or a traffic jam or roadworks and something like that. So give yourself more time for the ride itself, but also to get dressed and to get showered and all that stuff. That's very important too. So you can't just say, okay, it's an hour and 15 and I'm starting work in an hour and 30, so bang, I'm off to work. You have to consider the other factors. If you think I can cover the distance, don't do it on a Monday morning before work for the first time and think, hey, this is going to be it. Do the ride on Sunday or on Saturday before you actually do your commute, so you can figure out for yourself which route seems the best. And we're going to get to routes in a while, because I'll show you how to do that. So you can figure out how long is the ferry. In my case, I've got to take a ferry. How long does that take? With the wind, what are the best options to take, which route? So the dry run is important to give you an oversight of where you're going, what can happen on that ride, and the possibilities of trying to avoid things that might occur on a ride like that. So the dry run is important. It gives you a bit of oversight and makes you feel comfortable and gives you the confidence that you're going to be fine. And you're definitely going to be fine. I'm going to help you with that, and we're going to go through some stuff you need. So let's do that. The next thing we're going to talk about is the bike. I have a Comoot Pro, which has mudguards, it has permanent lightning, and it has 44mm tubeless tires. The wider tires gives you a whole lot of confidence on the road. It makes it feel very sturdy and safe. The lightning on the bike is very comforting because you always have lightning, and it's not a bad idea to always use the lights during the daytime riding as well, because cars can see you better it's safer. This commute is all about getting to work and being safe. So the lights give you that sense of confidence because it's safe. And the third thing is the mud guards keep you dry. There's nothing worse than a wet butt on the road and wet, cold feet if you don't have a front mud guard. So the mud guards, the wider tires, and the lightning on the bike, those are three things I would recommend if you are going to look for a commuter bike. So look at the commute Pro or Race. Those are bikes that are very comfortable for commuting and getting to work safely and with not much hassle, because you have permanent mud guards and permanent lights. And I'm not sponsored by Cube, it's just I invested a lot of time in a bike that I can use to commute with. I've adapted the bike a whole lot to fit me. You can see in my previous videos that I've changed stuff to make the bike comfortable for myself. And remember, the commute Pro and Race aren't high-end bikes, so you have to change things. If you buy the bike out of the store or it comes in a box, you have to change the bike in such a way that it suits you. And therefore, I would advise a bike fit and just get it set up for yourself. And stuff like the bike stand, I removed because I just put my bike down on the non-crank side if I need to, and that's no problem. But I'm definitely not going to ride around with a bike stand. So those are things you can remove. And watch my previous videos. I have done a whole lot of stuff to show you how to do that. So that's a bike I would advise, but of course there are many other bikes out there. So let me know what you have, and if you have any questions, let me know. Okay, let's look at navigation. I'm going to Komoot, which is a great site to plan routes and decide which routes to take. They show you which ones are the quickest. And what you see now is my basic route, my shortest route of 50 kilometers. We're going to a longer route of 75 kilometers, I think, 74, maybe even longer, which I do in the summer. But you see basically the A route on the left side of the screen remains the same if I go to work in the mornings, no matter if I go by mountain bike or by gravel bike. This route's the mountain bike route again. The previous one was the gravel bike route, and you can see where I am on the top of the screen now. Those are the mountain bike trails, and that's what I do on the way back then. But in the mornings, the commute is always the same, either 25 kilometers in the winter or 30 kilometers in the summer. No matter if I'm going by mountain bike or by gravel bike, I keep the routes the same. I keep them safe. It's dark, it's windy. Now we're looking at a route you can go to Komoot and you can plan your routes. This is a route I've planned to ride to Belgium, to a mate of mine, 206 kilometers. I haven't done it yet, unfortunately, but I do plan to do it, and it's a gravel bike route. So I've planned this on my gravel bike. You can go to Komoot to Route Planner, and you can decide for yourself where you want to go to, where you're coming from. Is it gravel riding? Is it road cycling, mountain biking, or bike touring? You can even run it if you want to. So you can plan your routes, and you can type in where you start, type in where you finish, and Komoot gives you options of stuff you can do. So that's what I use. It's absolutely awesome. So definitely have a look at that. So those are routes I have planned, a couple of them. I want to go back and I want to go show you on the route planner. Once you've decided to plan the route, you can export it on the right side here. You can export it to your GPS device, your Garmin. On the rides, I take a couple of things with me. So I have to prepare, as the rides are between an hour and 15 minutes and 2.5 hours in the summer. And mostly in the mornings, I've had no breakfast, so I don't want to have a hunger knock. And in the afternoons, sometimes I haven't had enough food during the day to cover the ride on the way home. So the most important thing is take some gels with you. some food, bars, something you can eat, so you don't, if you get a hunger knock, you have some food with you. That's very important. The second thing is carry a phone with you, because if you have someone that loves you and you break down, they can pick you up, but I won't reckon on that. This is very important. This is my chain breaker, and I can also use it for other stuff, of course. It's a multi-tool, but the most important thing on this is my chain breaker. The first time I chain broke, I thought I was totally organized and I knew exactly what to do, but I never actually tried it. So the moment I wanted to use it, I figured out that I needed an Allen key to go in here, and you cannot loosen the Allen keys over here to fit in there. So what I needed to do is I needed to have a spare Allen key to go in there to fix my chain. So the first time my chain broke, I did not have all the equipment to fix my chain. So make sure you know how to use it as well. Try it out, take an old bike chain, and try and figure out how to do this. This is very important because your chain is going to break and you never know when that is, especially if you're commuting and your chain is not very clean. This is a very important thing to have with you. A multi-tool with a chain breaker, and if needed, an extra Allen key, as in my case. Very important. I don't carry a pump with me, but I carry my air champ from SKS with me, and it works perfect. I have a spare CO2 canister on the inside, and I carry another spare CO2 canister with me. So I have two CO2 canisters, and so I'm covered for my flat tire, and this works absolutely perfect, so I don't need a pump. The next thing you have to consider is, if you're doing long distance commuting, is it going to be light, is it going to be dark? And you've seen on my rides that I've done that I have ample lights with me in the front and in the back. I also use a bike that has permanent lights, so I have a permanent light in the front and a permanent light at the back. And above that, I also carry a normal light with me that actually goes on my handlebar, and this I use, of course, to give me extra light on the ride, but also, as I said previously, if I have a puncture in the dark, so I can see what I'm doing. If you have a puncture in the dark and you can't see what you're doing, and the bike light is attached to the bike, you can't remove the light. You need the light to be able to see what you're doing to fix the puncture. Also, I have a rear light on my bike, and as I said before, I have a rear light on my bike already, which is permanent, but this is an extra light in case that something happens to the lightning on my bike. I have extra lights. All right, very important. Well, you might be asking yourself, where does all this stuff go? Well, there are two places where I put this. This all goes in my saddlebag underneath my saddle, so my bike's a bit heavier from that, but it's really worthwhile. I never actually touch these things unless I really need them. So food, chain breaker, air for my flat tires, tire levers, two spare tubes. This all goes in my saddlebag underneath my saddle, and for the rest, everything goes in my backpack. My backpack's very light. I like a backpack that doesn't have much in it. Actually, I have a couple of bucks in here in case I need to get a taxi or something crazy like that. But I have my bank cards in here, and I have some cash, and I have a body warmer. The body warmer is really important because even in the summer, if you break down, it can be cold, but in the winter this is a definite must. I have a body warmer in here. It's super light. I keep the backpack light, and that makes it much more comfortable. The heavy stuff go in the saddlebag, and it makes the rides much more enjoyable and easy. So my advice is to have a backpack with a body warmer. Just an idea, think about it and do whatever you think's best. Okay? Well, we've spoken now about what you need on your bike, but there also a couple of stuff you need at work. So you need to, on the days you go by car, take some extra work clothes with you. Take some extra cycling clothes with you, because you don't want to carry all the stuff. I just explained to you earlier that you need a light backpack. So to avoid carrying heavy stuff in your backpack, take spare clothes that you're going to need at work. Take it with on the days you go by car. Take a dry cycling pants with when you go by car, and take some dry socks with, and maybe a dry undershirt, because you don't want to carry all the stuff in your backpack, and it's nothing worse than putting on wet cycling clothes at the end of the day if you have to ride home. So take dry cycling clothes with you and make sure all your work clothes go with you to work on the days you go by car. That's important. It saves you a whole lot of weight and a whole lot of stuff you have to carry. So my advice to you would be on the days you go to work by car, take everything you need with you and just load up and unload at work and try and store it in a safe place or wherever you can. Next thing is your bike has to be in a safe storage place. My bike goes into the practice with me, so that's no problem. I hang it on the wall. But if you're working for someone, try and find a place where your bike's going to be safe and where you don't actually have to worry about your bike during the day when you work, and you can just drop it down and you can pick it up at the end of the day, no problem.